I'm basically going to cover off on audit files. So, when we were prepping this, we were deciding, okay, look, what are the big ticket items that have come out from our reviews of audit files, from the monitor's review, from the reviewer's review, and really picking out the key issues. Now, unfortunately, we're 2 years into the whole COVID-19, and this thing never seems to go away. But again, a lot of the focus on those files have been all around the impact of COVID. But it doesn't stop there. A lot of the points they've made are really good, solid points for ongoing issues and ongoing files. So I'm going to cover off on the bigger ticket items. Overall, like from reviewing this, from reviewing all the files, and from reviewing reports from other reviewers, we all know COVID has had a major impact on and really has posed challenges for auditors. The key things, and you'll see from this, is the key thing has all been around access to your client. So the issues around not being able to meet your client face to face, not being able to get onto your client's premises, and then the whole area about remote working. So all the teams, not being able to physically meet and collaborate. These are the underlying issues that have come out from these reviews. Funny enough, or not so funny, the next point here basically is, irrespective of the challenges, all institutes have emphasised that the requirements of the audits still apply, the standards still apply, and in fact, the FRC were really fast out of the blocks on this. That over 2 years ago, but they were saying, well, look, we recognise the challenges of the pandemic, we recognise the challenges of COVID, but we don't particularly care. An audit is an audit. If you do an audit, the standards still apply, no matter what. So again, they're doubling down on that. And then the key thing that's coming up again from the review is all about demonstrating how you've applied your professional skepticism and challenging management assumptions. That's irrespective of COVID. We're seeing that. Where are we seeing this? We're seeing this. We're seeing this all on ISO 570 golden server. We're seeing ISO 540 on accounting essence. We're seeing it about now on fraud. We're seeing it now on ISO 315. It's all about how you have applied your professional skepticism, how you've evidenced that on the file, how you've documented that, and how you have evidenced challenging management assumptions. That's where the key thing is coming down. All that management bias and challenging the assumptions. That's what they want to see in the file. It's one of those areas where it's really difficult to see. How do you evidence that? It's all about your client meetings. It's all about your team meetings. It's all about the work you're doing, the recognition that we have these management have made assumptions, they have made estimates. How are we challenging that? So it is all about documentation. That's kind of really the overview. So then we decided, well, look, what were the main areas that were coming up in files? Well, stock was always going to be an issue, and the issue around stock for the last couple of years, depending on where you were, depending on the level of lockdown, the level of travel restrictions, that have been imposed. The issue was basically you couldn't attend your client premises for inventory stock. So what was the implications of that? Well, you're performing alternative procedures, and that's the key thing that wasn't coming up in the files, where there wasn't alternative procedures being carried out, or if they weren't adequately documented, and this is, and it's all about if the conclusions on the file following the procedures. And the key thing is all about, if you're carrying out alternative procedures, is to document on your file your consideration. Oh, okay, well, look, they are alternative. They aren't the ones I want to do. Well, what are the impact on the audit report? What is, how robust are they? What are the objectives? Will they satisfy the objectives? Are they, will they give us the same evidence that, that we need? And it's all about documenting on that. Don't assume someone knows. Don't assume, well, I couldn't attend a stock take because so I've had to do something else. It's all about documenting the alternative procedures carried out. following it through, identifying that maybe they may not give you the perfect result that you require, but then documenting, okay, well, what we've done a multiple alternative procedures. Can they give us the confidence that we're okay? Are we considering our audit report if we couldn't carry out alternative procedures? So we're looking at ISO 700, we're looking at ISO 705 and 706 in terms of modifying your audit report. And then the key thing as well, by not attending the client's premises, is the last point here, in terms of impaired stock or obsolete stock. So it's all about the area about stock would have been one of the big areas that they would have focused on. Funny enough, not that it was already drafted for or something like a pandemic, but ISO 501 is your go-to standard. Issues over stock takes, issue over attendance, issue over alternative procedures. That's your go-to. Go to ISO 501, and that does give you an element of comfort, and you point you in the right direction in terms of what to do. Then we move on to the next big topic, the next big ticket item, all about fraud. And the issues about fraud was all about access to the clients, access to the customers. Everything, and there was unscrupulous people out there, and we would have come across these from time and time again over the last 2 years. Unscrupulous people out there finding holes in the systems in clients' premises. Issues over segregation of duties, issues over remote working from home. Sending those fraudulent emails purporting to be from the CEO and asking for money to be paid or invoices to be paid, and realizing, well, look, the team isn't all in the same office, so they can't just kind of go over to Joe and say, look, Joe or Tina, is this your email? So they were making hay about that, and this is all to do about fraud. But and from an audit perspective, it's documenting on your file that you may not have direct access to your client, and the implications about that, about not being on site, not having direct direct access, and not having direct access to their customers. So again, for clients, moving remotely, changing their business model, going from direct access, in a shop, or going online. So all those issues, and especially with the new ISO 240 on fraud, the whole area of putting yourself in the shoes of the client and saying, well, look, if I was to carry out a fraud, how would I do it? The consideration of that on your audit file. But again, and this is what they were looking at. It was turning your thought process into, okay, well, look, what are the implications of fraud, or what are the implications on the audit, on the client in relation to fraud? Issues that came up were basically just using flawed checklists. Again, just complete the procedures with no additional considerations regarding fraud or a fraud risk assessment. So just go to the basic stuff, revenue recognition, management override, and going no further. So again, coming back to this, what are the risks about you not having direct access to your clients and your clients not having direct access to their customers? Or is there and then going back to my last slide about your clients not having direct access among themselves in terms of, okay, segregation of duties, all those systems and controls, the impact on that regarding fraud. Another big point, insufficient documentation of discussions between the auditor and management. Again, it comes down to this point here, not having direct access to your audit client, and it comes back to all about professional skepticism. How are you documenting that? It's documenting your client meeting. It's documenting your telephone calls, your emails. It's all about documenting how you discussed fraud. First off, from the point of view of the team. So how did you address that? And these are all old hats, and these are all stuff like, I know I'm probably talking to people here, and it's like, auditing 101 and fraud. But again, it only came to the surface, when issues like COVID and a pandemic came around. Again, so documenting your discussions. Lindsay.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that there was so much change happening, and so much change happening related to how people worked. and how that impacted fraud as well. And I don't think that was always captured on audit files. People, looked at last year and they rolled forward last year's risks without thinking about, well, people are working from home now. How does that change our controls? How does that change the fraud risk? So there was a lot more fraud.
And that's exactly it. And you'll see as we come on to the next slide about 315, that's exactly it. So it's just not taking last year's stuff, rolling it into this year and going ahead. It's that element of thinking. And then the last point here, lack of evidence of the auditor's assessment and conclusions regarding the fraud risk. So it's all about documenting what your fraud was, what the risks were, and then your conclusions all about there. So again, it's all not that the work wasn't done, it's by documenting and kind of leveraging on what was done.